Thank you for reminding me. That would have been a disaster.
Great. Okay, so what is Bridging the Bar? So we are a charity that focuses on creating work experience opportunities for aspiring barristers who are from underrepresented backgrounds. We essentially want to create a diverse bar that reflects the diversity of our society. So we can see from the statistics, if Imi can turn to the next slide. From the statistics here, pulled out from the Bar Standards Board report in 2021, we can see there is a big problem with diversity at the bar currently. And therefore, we want our initiative to create a change. It might not be an immediate change, but it will be a change that we will see in the upcoming years out of the candidates that we help through the Bridging the Bar Academy. So next slide. So what is the Bridging the Bar Academy? So the Bridging the Bar Academy takes on 100 candidates who apply through our application process. It is an attended course, which means that all the events that will take place throughout the year need to be attended in person. And it runs alongside work and study. And it is during the academic year. So it starts in October and it ends in June. And we provide a variety of programs to our candidates. Some of them are listed on here, and also I'm going to go through them with you briefly in the next couple of slides as well. So before I do that, there is a timeline, a brief timeline here, which you can see of the various different programs that we're going to run and where they would be running in the year. Now, it's important to note that all the candidates or successful applicants will be emailed a timeline, a more comprehensive timeline with essentially all the dates of when the exact events will be running. But this is just a rough outline so that you have an idea of what to expect. Okay, so we start with the opening event, which will take place, I believe, at the end of September. And essentially, this opening event is a chance for us to induct our candidates into the Bridging the Bar Academy. We go over the schedule that I mentioned, the expectations of what we would need from you to do and what you would expect from us throughout the academic year. And it's also a very great opportunity for you to meet the other candidates that you will be seeing frequently through the academic year, and be able to network with them, as well as the volunteer practitioners that will also be there to help you out throughout the year. So one of the first major programs that we'll be running is the mentoring scheme. And essentially here, what we do is we match all of our 100 candidates to a mentor, so one mentor each. And essentially, we try to match our candidates to a mentor that is specific to your practice area of interest, and at times the diversity statistics that you share with the mentor, in order to create a more effective mentoring relationship. The mentorship will last during the academic year. And so essentially what we'll do is we'd match you with a mentor. We would set out the expectations and timelines of when you should meet, but essentially the onus is on the candidates to reach out to their mentors and to ensure that these these meetings are effectively carried out. So the second program that we also run is our internship scheme. So this is quite an exciting scheme where we have 3 judicial internships, and then an internship with the Law Commission and an internship with Advocate. Now the 3 judicial internships are all a week long. The Law Commission internship is for 3 days, and Advocate, the internship for Advocate lasts for a month, I believe, in the summer. So those who have been selected for the internship will be notified at the beginning of the year, and you will be told so that you can know what to expect at the beginning and know where you're going to be during the specific times of when the internships will run. But these are very exciting opportunities, and people that we've candidates who have gone through those experiences have benefited quite a lot from them. We also run a mini pupillage scheme. So we've partnered with various chambers to provide all of our 100 candidates with mini pupillages. So essentially, sorry, just bear with me a minute. Yeah, so essentially what we would do is we would have the first cycle of mini pupillages, which would run from I think October or November, with the last one being in at the end of January. And then the second round of mini pupillages would run from February to June. And essentially what we would do is we would place all 100 candidates to have the first round of their mini pupillages. And then we would also try and find, depending on capacity, a second placement for mini pupillages during the second half of the year for candidates as well. Yeah. We also run a lecture series that is delivered by Elaine Banton, who is a practicing barrister at 7BR. She delivers a 2-part lecture series, which focuses on access and change at the bar. And essentially, she focuses on the challenges faced by barristers from underrepresented backgrounds at the bar. And the first part of the lecture will take place in November, and then the second part will take place in March during the academic year. We also have an online advocacy training course, which is led by the advocacy coach, Bibi, who is a practicing barrister at Fallbrook Court. The training is comprised of an online course and a live event. So the live event essentially offers candidates the opportunity to practice court argumentation in lifelike scenarios, and it allows you to practice your advocacy skills as well, which is quite good. Next slide. Thank you. So this is another major program that we run throughout the year, and essentially we call them pods, pod sessions, and they essentially help with your personal development throughout the academic year. They are headed by practicing barristers. All our candidates will be split into groups of 10, and you will have 4 sessions with your pods throughout the year. And it will focus on stuff like courage before confidence, being versus doing. We have other topics that will be covered time. Actually, it's not only a place where you get to learn or be coached personally, but it's also a place where you will get to meet other candidates going through the same process as you, doing the pupillage application process. Yeah, we've found that having that, having that connection with your peers is quite important, and having that support as well during the year has been quite beneficial. Okay, so the consultancy panel is something that we also offer during the academic year, and it's where essentially you get more support based on the request that you make. So for example, if you need your CVs checked before submitting an application, a pupillage application, a mini pupillage application, or work experience application, you can essentially submit that request, and then we have volunteer practitioners who, depending on their capacity, will then select your request, and you'll be notified, and you can be put in touch with them to carry out that request and support that you need. Something else that we have also run this year, and we will also be carrying on to do next year, is our interview advocacy training. So this year we partnered with 16 chambers who ran interview advocacy training sessions over 4 consecutive Saturdays. Next year it's going to be run over 2 Saturdays between November and December. And what we do essentially is we match candidates, a group of candidates, to their specific practice area of interest, or chambers that run that specific or that have that practice area of interest available. And what they do essentially is you would have the chance to go over interview advocacy training exercises that would usually come up in pupillage interviews. And here what you would be able to do is you'd able to practice those exercises and then gain feedback from practitioners based on your performance, and you'd be able to kind of have that ready and in hand for when you do go and do pupillage interviews. So the last kind of major event of the year is our graduation event. So after you've attended all of those events that I've mentioned in the programs, we run a graduation event or graduation conference, that's what we're calling it this year as well, where we get to celebrate how far our candidates have come. So even those who have not secured pupillage during this round, the process that we run during the year is quite comprehensive, and it allows you to develop quite a lot of skills. So what we managed to do is also partner with, so for example, this year we've partnered with Gatehouse Chambers and the Bar Council to bring about a Future Leaders workshop, which we will run during our graduation conference, to equip our candidates with the skills they need to become future leaders as part of the bar, and as Bridging the Bar alumni. We will also have a Bridging the Bar alumni network, which I will let Imi talk about because she's the expert on this. And yeah, I think that covers the Bridging the Bar Academy quickly. Yeah, and I hope to answer any questions that you may have at the end of the session. I'm going to pass to Imi, who will go through the rest of the slides with you. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Thank you. Yes, so just to run you through the last bit about the academy proper. So once you're graduated, you'll be invited to join the Alumni Network. So our graduates are those that have completed the entire program, completed all the relevant work, and completed all the relevant feedback. So you have to have done that. And then once you've got your shiny new graduation certificate, you'll be offered an invitation to join this network. And the idea behind this network is that it's follow and support. So the Academy is a discrete event that runs from October to June. It's a discrete program, but the Alumni Network is an ongoing program that aims to support both those that are successful in their pupillage applications and those that haven't been successful yet. So what that's looking like is that we'll provide a series of talks. Current talks on the books for the Alumni Network this year are how to manage your finances as a self-employed barrister, and also something along the lines of, you've got commercial pupillage, how do you situate yourself in the commercial bar? So we have those on offer. We also have an ongoing variation of the consultancy panel. So that's both for people that have gained pupillage. So you're a pupil barrister, but you're not really sure how to interact with your clerks and you don't really have anyone to ask. So you submit that to the consultancy panel and you get a response that kind of situates you in a way where you don't have to, embarrass yourself in front of chambers. We'll also be offering, for those that aren't successful yet, relevant job experiences and job vacancies. So things like paralegaling or assistance to a barrister, anything that we think that might help you gain the relevant work experience that might be the bulk that you need for your next round of pupillage applications. So that's the follow-on support. And this is our feedback. So we've had some really positive feedback from the candidates this year. This year was our pilot year. While we have run disparate programs before, so we ran a mini pupillage scheme and mentoring before, the Academy's pilot year, so that as a comprehensive program for a set number of candidates, was this year. So we're wrapping up currently. And the feedback that we've got has just been phenomenal. The pupillage results have been coming out since Friday, which is super exciting, and a lot of that is focused on how bridging the bar was pivotal in these future pupil barristers' success. So this is just a selection of my favourite quotes. You can peruse if you like. I think that's long enough. Oh, and just a quick note to say, for those that have put questions in chat, I can see them. I'm just gonna wait till the end to get to them. So I'm not ignoring you, just ignoring you for now. Right, so we have done a great job. We've persuaded you that the Academy is a wonderful opportunity and you are absolutely raring to make an application. How do you do that? What's required? What does that process look like? Well, we have 6 eligibility requirements this year. So number 1 is that you have to be in your final year of your LLB or on the GDL or other relevant conversion course, or further on in your academic studies at the point of making the application. So that means you, at this moment, must at least be in the final months of that qualifying law degree or conversion course, or you can be further on. So it doesn't matter whether you're already on the BPTC or whether you've left education and you're in work, or whatever stage that you are at, as long as you've obtained that qualification, you are eligible. Number 2 is that you must be intending to apply for pupillage in 2024 and or 2025. So all things being well, you must have the intention in February 2024 or in February 2025 to sit down and make those pupillage applications. And this is because obviously we're a free pupillage bootcamp, I suppose. So we are looking to target people that are on the cusp of attempting that and at that point in their journey. Then number 3 is you must have been state school educated. So all this means is that you must have been attending a non-fee paying school for the majority of your education. If you have attended a fee paying school, but you have proof of alternative funding, so that is either funding from your local authority, funding through scholarships, things like that, then we can make an exception for you. All you've got to do is you've got to get in touch at programs at Bridging the Bar. It's on the website, don't expect you to remember it. And we'll give you a kind of yay or nay. We'll complete your application. If you're successful, we may follow up to ask for proof of that alternative funding from you. Number 4, self-explanatory, you can't have attended Oxbridge at the undergraduate level. This is just because Oxbridge represents a material advantage for people applying to pupillage. So as we're looking to make the greatest impact for charity, we've kind of moved away from that as an eligibility criteria. Number 5 is that you must have been supported through undergraduate through student loans or your own work. So it's either, the typical student loans company, or if you've been in your own employment and you've saved from that work and you've then funded your degree that way, also okay. And then number 6 is that you must be present in the UK and able to attend all Academy events. So what this means is that you've got to be habitually resident in the UK from October to June, and you have to have the capacity within your schedule to make sure that you can attend Academy events. So you need to have, work flexibility or study flexibility, whatever it is that you need to make sure that you can make those arrangements. And these eligibility requirements are cumulative. So you need to be able to answer yes to 1 through 6 to be eligible for the Academy. So you're all eligible. How do you apply? It is a 2-stage application process. So stage 1 comprises of a written application, and stage 2 is a video application. So first stage, in brief, there's no time limit. We just take some consent and backgrounds, 3 written questions, 1 pre-recorded video presentation. You submit that, and then following that, you go to the second stage, which is the video stage, which are timed questions. So there's a time limit, and it is 2 live recorded video answers. So in a bit more detail, written application, what do we take? We take your eligibility to the program, a commitment from you that you can, attend all the events and that you intend to complete the program. We take some diversity information. So we look at your D&I characteristics, race, age, things like that. We take your educational background. So we take what stage you are at in your educational journey and where you intend to go with that journey. We take a reference that can be academic or it can be work related, doesn't matter. And then we take your career aspirations. So that is where you think that you're going to go. Like, you have a dying love for IP law, or you really want to work in family. We do check again if you are successful. We check again when we have candidate intake. So if it does change between the point of application and the point of candidate intake, that is fine. Just let us know. So all of the stuff that I've just mentioned is just for our monitoring purposes. This is so we know who we're reaching, how we're impacting them, and for those of you that are successful, how we can best place you to get the greatest impact out of the academy for you as a candidate. So none of this is going to have a material outcome on your application. The things that do have a material outcome on your application are the 3 written questions and the pre-recorded video question. So the 3 written questions are all between 200 and 250 words in length, so they're not super long. And the pre-recorded video question is no more than a minute. And to make that, those of you that might not know, you just want to go onto some sort of software that will record you. You can do it over Zoom, you can do it over Google Meet. Have a look at the question, make the video, and then it's important that you download that in an MP4 format. So if you don't download it into an MP4 format, we can't see it and it can't be marked. But yes, there's no time limit for this section. So you can have a look at the questions, you can go away, you can think about it, you can draft your answer, you can look at the questions again. The only kind of limit for that is the end of the application period. So video application. Once you've submitted your written application, once that's all done and dusted and you click submit, you are going to receive an email, and the email is going to have 2 important things in it. One is going to be your candidate number, and the second one is going to be a link to our video applications platform. So the candidate number is super important. That's your BTB pass. That's what gets you into the programs. That's what gets you access to the back end. If you remember one thing from that email, make it that number, because you will be asked for it again and again and again and again. So memorize it, write it down. And then you'll also be emailed a link to the video platform. So this is where you can see those timed unseen questions. So they are 2 questions. The first one is a question that is you have 5 minutes total time for, and the answer must be not more than 2 minutes in length. So you put in your details, you load the app, timer starts, you've got 5 minutes, and 2 of those minutes must be spent recording the video. So you've got 3 minutes to think, plan, rehearse, whatever it is that you need to do, 2 minutes to record the question, and then you'll be on to the next question. Similar format, but this one is 10 minutes total time. So you've got 8 minutes to think, record, plan, think and plan, and then 2 minutes to record the question. And it's important that you familiarize yourself with the instructions. They're available in the email, they're available on the app, they're available via the application guide on our website, but these questions are accessible only once. So it's a one-stop shot, you get one shot at it. So make sure that you familiarize yourself with the instructions. And then yes, last note on that is please ensure that there's adequate time between your submission of the written portion to the video portion, because our application cutoff is the cutoff for the total applications. So if you're doing your written answers 10 minutes before the application deadline, the likelihood of you having time to receive that email, load the app, and then also complete the video questions is not so great. So make sure you ensure adequate time, because we won't be sending incomplete applications to be marked. You have to answer all of the questions to be considered, essentially. So what criteria are we assessing on? So number 1, commitment to academic excellence. That's self-explanatory. We're looking for people with the potential to go to the bar, and part of that is attaining good grades. Number 2 is an understanding of what a career at the bar entails. So this doesn't mean that we expect you to know the intimate day-to-day details of what a barrister does, or the intimate day-to-day details of what a barrister in your specific area does. That just means that we want you to show an understanding of what your career would look like, what you are likely to be doing on a day-to-day basis, both as a pupil and as a barrister, just the general picture, so that we know that that this is the right field for you. Number 3 is clear and persuasive written communication skills. So these are your basics. So sentence structure, paragraphing, make sure you spell check, make sure you use grammar. What we're looking for here is for all of your written answers to persuade us of the force of your argument. And then we have clear, persuasive, and engaged in oral advocacy skills. Very similar. It just means for all the sections where we get to see you, where we get to hear you, we want you to be, persuasive, eloquent, convincing, all of the usual stuff that you've heard before. Then we've got understanding issues faced by candidates and barristers from underrepresented backgrounds at the bar, and a commitment to remedying these issues. So what this means is that you should have a good understanding of your own D&I characteristics and of others' D&I characteristics, so ones that you might not necessarily share. So you should have a good grasp on those, a good grasp on how they affect someone's, interactions, their day-to-day life, potentially their progression of their career at the bar. And then you have a commitment to remedying these issues. So ideas about how this can be done, and then a commitment to seeing those through. And then we have the ability of a candidate to champion diversity and inclusion in a way which will facilitate mutual learning. So mutual learning is just basically a fancy way of saying that both people involved in the experience are learning. So we believe that as much as candidates will get from mentoring or mini pupilages or interview advocacy training or whatever else it is that you're doing, the stakeholders engaged in that also can learn from you guys, because you'll be from diverse backgrounds, you'll be non-traditional candidates, and sometimes what it takes is to interact with someone who has specific D&I characteristics to be able to see the world from their point of view. So we want candidates that will be able to champion their own world viewpoint in a way that will get through to those that you engage with, and hopefully will enable the change that we want to see at the bar. And then last one, most important one, is likelihood to benefit from the academy. So what this means is that you have a clear understanding of the academy program, you understand the structure, you understand all of the bits, that you are excited and engaged with that. You can envision how that's going to impact you. You can say, yes, I think I would really benefit from X program because Y. So it's basically just convincing us that you will benefit, that you're engaged, that you're ready, that you understand it. And yes, so applications marking, you've put it all in, you've looked at the assessment criteria, you've done it, you've bated breath. How will we mark your efforts? Well, our chief aim is ensuring equity in our marking procedure, and we have 2 primary ways of doing this. So number 1 is that we employ a vertical marking system, and that's basically just a fancy way of saying that one marker looks at all the questions for one criteria. So you have your question 1, criteria 3. So that's whatever we've asked for question 1, how was your day-to-day? Criteria 3 would be your written communication skills. One marker will look at all the applicants, all the answers for that specific thing, and then another marker for the next one, and another marker for the next one, so on and so forth. This is contrasted by the more traditional horizontal marking, where one marker looks at all the answers from one candidate. So that marker will only see one of your answers, but will see the same answer from every candidate. And basically what this does is it ensures a good basis for marking, because the same person is seeing, the same question. There isn't variation. It's not 2 people's opinion on how one question should be marked. It's one person's opinion on how one question should be marked. So you can ensure consistency, basically, that way. And then number 2, this is interesting. You'll like this. This is that we consider an individual's highest grade. So the whole point of the academy is to look for potential that might otherwise be overlooked. And one of our ways that we do that is by looking at your highest grade. So, we appreciate, we understand that people have different circumstances. At a certain point in your life, your circumstances might have been more difficult, and it might have been harder for you to achieve, your full potential at that particular time in your study journey. So what we do to kind of minimize the effects of those extenuating circumstances is that everything from A-level onwards, we take as a valid grade. So A-level, undergraduate degree, master's degree, PhD, if you've got one of those, and we look at your highest grade. So if you have an A at A-level, but a 2-2 at undergraduate, you'd select your A-level grade. Similarly, if you've got a B at A-level, a 2-2 at undergraduate, but you've got a distinction in your master's, you'd select your master's grades. And then what we ask you to do is we ask you to rate those on a scale from 0 to 3. So first class would be, undergraduate would be a 3, a 2-1 would be a 2, a 2-2 would be a 3. It's very difficult to say, but hopefully you're with me. And you assign a grade to your academics. So what that means is that, you know, if you've got a blip, if you were doing really well, you had something happen, it was a blip, we can ignore that blip because we're looking at your potential, what you could achieve. Oh, this is super exciting. This is one of my favorite bits. Feedback. So we've all been there. You put blood, sweat, tears, love, passion into an application for work experience or mini pupillage or pupillage itself. And a couple of weeks later, you get an email that says, unfortunately, on this occasion, but absolutely no indication as to why, you know, you have been unfortunate. So what we've done at B2B is that we've taken that experience on board and we designed a system that ensures that you get feedback, whether you're successful or not. So every application from every applicant will get at least one line of feedback for every question and criteria that we assess. So what will happen is on results day, you'll get an email, you get a cute little box, and you'll have a line of feedback per question and criteria. And your marker may have chosen to highlight something that you did really well, so that you can go on and you can say, look, you know, I've had some feedback, I know that I do this really well, people like this, I'll keep going with that. Or they might have chosen to highlight something that you can improve on, so that next time, you know, you're applying for whatever it is, be it the academy next year or, you know, mini pupillages or whatever it is, you can develop on that and you can work to get better. So all of you, if you choose to apply, will be receiving that, and we think that that's, you know, really useful. So key dates, what are we doing when are we doing it? Good news is that if you are enthused by this and you're raring to go, you can go and make an application now. We have opened at 9 AM on the 1st of May. So it's up there, it's available via the website, it's available via social media. If you want to leave now, hurry off, you know, go and do that, you can. And then next important date for you guys is going to be 2300 hours on the 1st of July. So this is when applications close. And like I said before, both applications portals are going to be closing at the same time. So written applications will close, video applications will close at 2300 hours on the 1st of July. So your entire application needs to be in by that date. Don't leave it too long. Then next one, projected results day. So all things being well, we hope to have all results released to you guys on the 15th of September. So what that will mean is that you'll get an email saying either, you know, yay or not so yay. You'll get your feedback. And for those of you that are successful, you'll get an invitation to a candidate agreement. We also kind of have a third category, so kind of a middle category, and we do shortlist. So if you have made an application to the Academy and you are kind of on the cusp of acceptance, we will email you saying that you've been shortlisted. And the reason we do this is because sometimes, you know, candidates can't take up their places, they've had a change in circumstances. And we think in that event, rather than running with a smaller cohort, we want someone that, you know, was almost there to have that opportunity. So if you do have that shortlisted email, we'll be back in touch a week from the 15th of September to basically either say a space has become available or it hasn't been. But for those of you that are successful, and I hope most of you are, you'll get an email that says, you know, congrats. And in that email will be a candidate agreement. Now, this is important because you will need stuff for this candidate agreement, and it is important that you have it because you have a week turnaround on that. There's a hard deadline of a week from the 15th of September to get that back to us because our stakeholders and our other programs need that information to run. And for that, you're going to need photo ID, so your passport, a utility bill or other proof of address that's dated within the last 3 months, and a professional headshot. And the reason that we need those things is because some of our stakeholders, some of our internships, they need that information for them to run. You need valid security checks, and that can take weeks. So we've got a hard deadline on that, and you do need to have that information available. So make sure that you've got that with you for the 15th of September. What happens next? Well, a week after you've submitted the candidate agreement, you will get your full academy schedule. So that's going to be all of your dates from October to June that says, you know, what pod you're in, where you're going, you know, you need to make time off arrangements from work. That's going to be your complete timeline, and it's going to come to you then. And then last thing is the academy opening event. So this is a stagnant event. This will be happening on the 30th of September. Venue to be confirmed, but we know it's going to be in person. We know it's going to be in London. So for those of you that make an application, make sure that you keep that available, and make sure that you have you know, relevant transportation all wrapped up for the 30th. And then off we go into the academy year, and off to do very many exciting things. So I think that's it. And I am going to stop sharing my screen, and then we are going to go through questions. So if you want to pop them in the chat, that's not what I wanted. Okay, we'll get to it now. I'm also going to give you the ability to unmute yourself. So if you fancy unmuting and asking a question verbally, that is fine. Okay. Any questions?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Thank you for this. Thank you for your time on this. I have a question about eligibility. Now, I know you've been over this, but I am not in my academic career. So I've done my undergrad, I've done the BTC, I've done my master's in law, and I'm starting a full-time job in the next month, actually. I'm just wondering whether I can still apply to this. I am within the minority ethnic groups, but I am no longer in university, if that makes sense. So what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so as long as you met all the other eligibility requirements, you'd be eligible. We don't currently require you to be in study. It's just really difficult to word. But as long as you are in year 3 of your qualifying law degree or onwards, so you can, you know, you've done a PhD or whatever, and you still be eligible. All right, great. Thank you so much.
Can I just jump in? And I'm just going to answer some of the questions that are in the chat, if that's okay. I believe Tom asked if there are 100 internships. We would wish that to be true. However, we only have a specific number of places available that are provided by our stakeholders. And essentially at the beginning, so when we receive all your results, you'll be filtered according to the criteria that our stakeholders are looking for. And then you will be notified whether you have been selected for the internship or not with regards to that aspect. So I just wanted to provide a bit of clarity on that. But I can see a few hands on there. Can you see that, Amy? Is that only on me?
Oh yeah, do you want me to take the next one? Amazon Felix has asked, referring to eligibility of applications, undergraduates on scholarships, yay or nay? Yay, we've got no problem with that. That's great, good for you. How long does it take to complete the whole application process, including video?
Yeah, I'm not sure about. I don't know. The video questions are timed, so you do have specific timings on those, and you will be told with the timings when you access them, right, Amy? Yeah. So that would last according to the timings that are on the application. But with regards to the written application, essentially you can do that whenever you you know, whenever you've got time. It's not I don't believe it's a lengthy process. And you can, you know, you can see the questions and then go and then come back and return to do the written application. But for the video ones, they are timed. So you would have to go onto the application and see.
The total time, if you only count the timed questions, is 15 minutes, because it's 10
minutes. So it's really short.
Yeah.
So it's not a very lengthy process in general. I can see Pfizer has her hand up on the chat. Is that correct?
Hi, thank you so much for today. I just wanted to ask for a little bit of clarification about the flexibility around studying, and how the events that are put on, like, you know, the pods you mentioned, how they would be arranged around of a study schedule alongside of that if you're like attending university.
Yeah, sure. So our program has been designed to fit around study. So almost all of our events are weekend events. So the pods run on a Saturday or a Sunday. The interview advocacy runs on a Saturday. The graduation and opening events and lectures are all on Saturdays. The only thing that you might have difficulty with in the week is if you're selected for an internship, they do run in the week, they're not on the weekends. And then again, arranging mini pupilages, the timing of that is largely at the discretion of chambers. So you would have to work with them to figure out when they can have you, but that's likely to be in the week as well. Does that answer your question?
It does, thank you.
Awesome. Shall we do Danielle?
Hi, thank you. I was wondering, can someone be eligible if they attended a state school but abroad?
Yeah. So state school for us just means any non-fee paying school. It doesn't necessarily mean a UK state school. So yeah.
Super, thank you.
Should we do Truman? You've got your hand up?
Hey, I think Altamash had his hand up first. If he wants to go first, that's completely fine by me.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, sorry. That's fine. I actually had a lot of questions, but some of them have already been answered, so it's all good. I just wanted to ask about, first of all, you said that, you know, that graph that you showed in the beginning, there was a section about the minorities in particular. One of the graphs had no information showed, but the minorities one didn't have a no information showed. Is that something that's relevant, or is there a reason why there's no information showed, or just wondering?
I'm not sure. I'd have to check, because these are graphs that we've made from the BSB statistics. So all of this is coming from the Ethnicity at the Bar BSB report on diversity at the bar 2021.
Okay, because I know some people ask about like sources and stuff, and so it'd be helpful to kind of quote it if I could use it as well. The other thing is, you said that you'd be paired up with someone that shares your diversity characteristics. What does that mean?
So what that means is that when we take mentors and when we take mentees, we ask for your intended practice area, and we also ask for your diversity characteristics if you prefer to be matched with someone from your diversity characteristics. So for some people, they might be, you know, struggling to find or struggling to envision maybe a career at the bar as a woman, for example. So they would want to have a female mentor to be able to relate to on that level, because that's what they're struggling with. So we'd look for a mentor that's also okay with that sort of diversity matching, and then go forward on that basis, again, with reference to the practice area. That's basically an additional extra. You don't have to opt into that. But yeah, that's what that means.
Okay. And could you explain the funding part of the criteria? You know how you had the eligibility criteria, 6 of them. There was one part about the funding. I didn't quite get that part, if it's okay.
For university or for state, for schooling?
For university.
University. Okay, so basically we want to look for people that are from a lower socioeconomic background. So we're looking at people that have either had to take out student loans from the student loan company, which is basically all of us, or people that are on scholarship, as it was mentioned in the chat, or people that have gone into the workforce, saved for however long that's going to take you to save for, and then paid through their own, you know, gain, I suppose.
Okay, that's perfect. And lastly, with the unseen part of it, what kind of questions can we expect? If we can have some indication of that, would be great.
Yeah, so one of them is going to be focused on the academy program, so you'll need familiarity with that. And then the second one is a topical question on current events in the legal sphere And by that, I mean trends. I don't mean that we're going to ask you to discuss a recent judgment, or you don't need to have researched every current up-and-coming case. It's a trend thing, and obviously it's going to have a D&I slant. Yeah.
So D&I, what do you mean by trend? As in like to do with diversity or like that kind of stuff, or what?
Yeah, so for example, last year's question was, do you think that I can't remember the wording, but do you think that diversity quotas would be good for justices? So if saying that the panel of justices has to be X amount BAME or X amount something else was last year's question. And it's going to be a question in the same style but not on the same topic.
Perfect, that's me, thank you.
Awesome. Do you want to go, Triman?
Yeah, that's correct. Thank you so much. I have two questions. Firstly, I'm from Malaysia, but I'm starting the bar course this September, and I'll be staying in the UK and start applying for pupillage, fulfilling all the criteria basically. So does my undergraduate, because I did an external degree, and my degree is from London. So does that qualify? Because it was state funded in the sense that I had to apply for student loans from my government.
Yeah, you qualify, yeah.
Cool. And the second question is that in terms of like the later category in the candidate agreement issue and all of that, for proof of residence, would a letter from the student accommodation work instead of like utility bills?
Do you know what? I wouldn't know off the top of my head. I'd have to check with our stakeholders because it's not our requirement,
Okay.
it's theirs. But I should imagine so. But if you drop me an email, what I can do is I can ask them and then get back to you if you want.
Yes, that would be fantastic. Thank you so much.
No worries. Do you remember who was next, Fatima?
Yeah, I think it was Tom. Tom was next.
Hi there, thanks very much for coming to me. Yeah, so the question was, I was asking, I put it in the chat actually, but it's probably gone a bit further down. When we come to, he said optimistically, to the candidate selection agreement, we have to have a number of documents. That's not generally a problem. But I was wondering, you mentioned security checks. Now, okay, I'm one of the advocates who's popping in and out of court every day, being strip searched virtually by security, especially down at Wandsworth, where they're very keen. But would you need to have your DBS checks in place, which I tend to have for my work, because I work with vulnerable people in housing associations? Or is it just the points you need, such as the address, the identity, that's all you need? You don't actually need the DBS already in place?
No, so we wouldn't ask you to have it already in place. Some of our stakeholders, depending on where you're going, might ask for one, but it's done by them at their expense, so you don't need to worry.
Okay, and the part of that question is also I think I get it from Fatima, but I'm not 100% sure, that you don't get the option of choosing in advance the internships you'd be interested in. It's which ones are available when you go through the marking schedules, sort of first come, first highest marks, and then you allocate it out. How is that? Sorry.
We do select your first option as in your.
Oh, you do get an
first
option in there. Sorry, I haven't gone that far in the application yet. So yeah.
So you do select what you would prefer, what your preference is,
okay.
and then based on that, so we would list the internships, and you get to pick your first choice, second choice, third choice, and fourth choice, and then based on that, alongside the criterias as well that the stakeholders are looking for, you would then be matched accordingly for the internship. So, for example, if you've selected the Supreme Court as your first one, but you don't match the criteria and you match the criteria for the Court of Appeal, then you might be considered for that internship instead.
Oh, okay, brilliant. Okay, thank you very much. It's been really good evening. Thank you very much for your help.
No worries.
No worries, thank you.
I think Jessica was next.
Hi, thank you for taking the time to speak about the programme. It's been really interesting. I wanted to ask, I don't know if I can, but with the criteria used to mark kind of the applications, I think the fourth bullet point was an understanding of issues faced by candidates from underrepresented backgrounds at the bar, and part of that was a commitment to remedying the issues. I think if we're just coming kind of from university and maybe haven't had the opportunity to sort of remedy the issues necessarily ourselves in like a physical way, would just having an appreciation and taking the time to really kind of be knowledge about them and have an understanding of them be enough? And then also within that, could we sort of draw in how we've sort of championed diversity and people from underrepresented groups getting into kind of, say, for example, sport, if we're involved with that outside of university, and kind of link that into our commitment to diversity? Or would that be kind of too far-fetched within that question? Sorry, it was a bit long-winded.
No, absolutely. Because obviously a lot of people are coming straight out of their undergraduate. We don't expect you to, set the world to rights or anything like that. What we're looking for is the understanding is and consideration is a big thing, because obviously with D&I issues, a lot of people, you don't think about it. If it doesn't affect you, you don't think about it. So understanding makes a massive component of that. And then if you've got, practical experience of engaging with D&I criteria in whatever field it's in, that's even better. That's like a cherry on the cake, but you don't necessarily have to have done that to just meet that criteria or display that, what we're looking for.
Okay, thank you. That's really helpful.
No worries. Who was next?
I think, forgive me for the pronunciation, but I think Kausalya.
Yes, thank you. I'm so sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I think I just have two questions. One of it is in relation to the funding for funding for the degree program. So I'm from Malaysia and I was funded by my government for 2 years, but then for my final year, my bar training course, I did it in the UK, in which my parents funded me. Will I still be eligible then?
Were you privately funded for your bar training course? So
yeah, so my final year of my degree and my bar training course currently, my parents are funding me. So how does that work then?
So we're not currently looking at postgraduate funding. So anything you've done after undergraduate, we're not considering funding for that in this year's eligibility criteria. We're a new program, so I can't guarantee that that's always going to be the way. But if you had a privately funded postgraduate degree, then that doesn't preclude you for eligibility from this cycle.
I'm so sorry, could you just repeat that again?
So having a privately funded postgraduate degree, so your BPTC or postgraduate qualification, I suppose, wouldn't preclude you. So you'd be eligible if you met all the other eligibility requirements.
All right, okay, thank you. I have one final question. This is in relation to your proof of residence. So at the moment, I'm going to be completing my bar training course in September, and I'll be moving up from my current accommodation, which is my student accommodation. So can I, for now, for my application, provide my current accommodation and then later on change my address? Is that allowed?
Yeah, so for all successful applicants, we'll be rechecking that the data that you gave us is still accurate on the 15th of September when we send you the candidate agreements. So giving us a good idea now is helpful for our kind of background operations, but we won't be thinking like your final answer until the 15th of September.
All right, okay. So is it okay if I then just send an address of my residence instead of a utility bills, because we don't get utility bills? So
for the candidate agreement, you'll need some sort of proof of residency, but that's, again, it's on the 15th of September that you'll need that by. I think a utility bill is the most obvious one. I'm not sure if your tenancy agreement might suffice.
Yeah, tenancy agreement or a copy of your bank statement. That's something that just states your name and your address on it on the same page. So it can even be a letter that you receive as well from like the government or something like that. Just anything that states your address and your name.
All right, okay, thank you so much. And this whole evening was really great. Thank you for all the information that both of you have shared. It was really helpful.
You're welcome.
Okay, I think Carla was next.
Hi there, I kept my video off until now because I've got kids around me. So my first question, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
First question, I'm currently second year undergrad, but obviously want to do the bridging the bar during my third year. So can I still apply? Because I know last year you could apply in your second year because you'd be doing the bridging the bar in the third year, because I'll be applying for pupillage in January.
Yeah, so I think with regards to that, this year it's changed because you have to be in your final year while you apply.
So it said that last year as well, but on the Q&A it said from last year's one that you could, as long as you were in your third year while doing Bridging the Bar. So as long as you were applying for first round of pupillage in the Bridging the Bar year, that you could apply. So is that still the case?
No, so as I was saying, it changed so you have to be in your final year when you apply.
Right.
So in September you would have graduated from your LLB.
Right.
And then the requirement is you either apply that year, so the January 2024, you apply for pupillage during that pupillage window, or you want to apply in the 24/25 year, which
Right.
is the following application round. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So then that doesn't make me eligible then this year.
Okay, there's always next year. So.
No, and it's definitely going to be running again next year, because I know that last year was kind of like
because last year was our pilot. Yeah, yesterday was our pilot. Last year was our pilot. So we will be running this hopefully next year. Yeah.
And the other question I had, which still might be applicable for other people, obviously not for myself now, but if you've already done a couple of mini pupillages before applying to Bridging the Bar, does that hinder you in any way? Obviously, I know mini pupillages are a big part of the academy, but does it hinder you if you've already, because by September I will have done 4, so I'm wondering whether that would kind of have a hindrance on me, especially as a couple of them are quite well-known chambers.
No, so I think what we do is we during our first round, we allocate everyone, all our candidates, a mini pupillage, and we would ask you for the chambers that you would have done a previous mini pupillage with, so that you do it, and we can assign someone new. But yeah, that wouldn't hinder you.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you very much for your answers, and good luck to everyone that's applying then. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think Danielle was next.
Hi, I think that you mentioned that there are different criteria for the judicial internships than for the academy overall, which obviously would make sense. Could you share anything about those? And I suppose the application to the academy itself looks a little bit skeletal. So I just wasn't sure like how you can additionally indicate eligibility or an interest in those particular positions. Thanks.
So
sorry.
No, I've answered a few, so I'll let you go.
So two things I think you asked about. One is indicating your preference, and the other is how they're assessed. So for indication, that's done with the candidate agreement. So we don't take that now. Because that's a lot of processing, and we're only going to have 100 candidates to process that for 200, 300, 400 applications. It's something that we don't need to do. So we take your preference and more detailed kind of career aspirations when you've been confirmed for the academy, and it's off the back of that agreement that you'll be allocated or not allocated, essentially. So that's why we take your preferences. That's why we take a really detailed overview of who you are, where you're going, how we can help you best. Whereas the application process is essentially to get into the academy, so it's just background monitoring. And then in terms of what the stakeholders are looking for, we're not kind of at liberty to discuss that at any length, because that's an internal conversation that we've had with them based on our own applications process, based on background data, based on excuse me, what they're looking for, in line with their own ethos and in line with their own criteria. But all but the advocate internships are taken from the data that you provide with your application process. The advocate internship runs slightly differently in that there'll be, for those of you that want to indicate a preference to do the advocate internship, you will be asked to answer, I think, 2 additional questions at the time of the candidate agreement, and then you'll be invited for a video interview later on. And the reason for that is purely because we're still in the process of integrating advocate fully into our kind of like family of stakeholders. So we're still in that process, so we're still working off the back of their interview process at the moment, and that will be the case for 2023-24, but might not be the case for 24-25 and onwards. So I know that's a kind of a half answer, but I hope that helps.
Yes, thank you.
Great. I think Noreen was next.
Hi, I have 3 or 4 questions, but I'm going to keep them short. So the first question is, with the questions, you have the criteria that you apply to each question. And I've been trying to see if I can see if there's a particular criteria applied to a particular question, but I can't find it. So when I'm drafting up my answers, it would really help if I would know which criteria would be applied. Is that something that you are going to be sharing now or later? Or is that going to be something that I just answer and don't concern myself with the criteria?
So this year we've modified our process a little bit. So we don't share that information anymore. We did in our pilot year, and then we've taken into consideration feedback from markers and our internal evaluations. It's not something that we've chosen to publish this year. So the only ones that are kind of obvious are the oral advocacy and the written advocacy. But that 7 criteria is the general overview. So if you look at the question, you look at the criteria, and you think, where can I show this criteria within that question? I think that would probably be helpful, but we wouldn't be able to give you a full list of this one there and that one there.
Okay, that's fine. The second question is, with regards to the academy, because I know it ran last year, do you know how many applicants you might have this year or how many you had last year, just so that I've got some understanding of how fierce the competition is?
Yeah, sure. So it's one of those how long is a piece of string questions, because we had to think about this when we were, designing the process. And we're forecasting, I think, somewhere between 400 and 600 applications this year based on our kind of growth statistic. But because we've had so much exposure, we've won, numerous awards, we've had numerous write-ups, we've gone from something that wasn't so well known to something that is slightly well known. It could be higher. So I'm not sure, but that's what we forecasted for ourselves.
Okay, and the final question was, how can we get in contact should we have any issues with the application procedure? It's just I've got a close friend and I think he's been struggling. His candidate number or something is not right when he tries to do the unseen question. I haven't even begun my application, so I'm just a little bit concerned. I don't want to end up missing the deadline, only completing half the application.
So if you've got technical issues, then you want info, so info@bridgingthebar.org. And then if you've got things like requests for reasonable adjustments, or you've got follow-up questions about the program or what we're looking for, then that's to programs@bridgingthebar, and both of those are available on the website.
That's great. Thank you very much. Thank you to both of you.
You're welcome. Oh, right. Any more for any more?
I think we got asked about travel expenses in the chat, I believe. Don't know if we can find
travel
it.
Expenses.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. We can go over travel expenses though. So we do have something called a hardship fund, although I think we're renaming it to something a little bit more aspirational. But we do have that up and running for candidates that might experience affordability issues. And our criteria for that at the moment is you have to demonstrate that it's genuinely unaffordable within your budget, and then you will be allocated to a tier of assistance based on your geographical location from London, and whether or not you have any additional accessibility requirements, so wheelchair user or something of the like. And then based on that, we'll say, yes, you're eligible. These are the events that you're eligible for. So these are the ones that we cover, because some of them will be covered by chambers, mini pupilages, that sort of thing. And then you'll be given a reimbursement of up to a certain amount for either travel expenses or travel expenses and accommodation, depending on the tier that you've been assigned. I can't give you an indication of what that amount is this year because we haven't got it through the approval process yet, but for a kind of benchmark, it was £65 per event for travel last year and £85 per event for accommodation last year, although I can no way guarantee that that's going to remain stagnant for this year. So yes, I hope that helps. Oh, and also that policy covers things that are related to your D&I criteria. So if you are a carer and you need to hire an extra carers, or if you need a certain type of transportation because you're a wheelchair user or anything like that, we have funds available for that. Caroline?
Hi there. I'm really sorry if the question's already been asked. I joined a little bit late because my work meeting overran, so I'm so sorry. I've been going through the applicant guide and there's just one question that I had on eligibility. It kind of says that you have to be within certain stages of your academic progression. I've actually completed the bar, but I'm really looking for the help this program can offer me. Am I still eligible to apply?
Yes, yeah, as long as you have completed as long as you're in or further on than the final year of your LLB,
Okay.
then you're good.
I've got my BPTC. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Cool.
That's
Okay.
okay.
I just wanted to check. Okay, thank you so much, and thanks for forgiving me for being late. I'm so sorry I couldn't escape the meeting.
No worries.
I've also put down our emails in the chat for anyone who wants to just copy paste those. I think Pfizer is next. Yeah.
I had a couple questions regarding the application quickly. You did briefly mention about the unseen questions and the kind of nature of those questions, but could you go into a little bit more detail about that and how we can best prepare ourselves for those questions?
Sure. So the first one is going to be academy focused. So for that one, you're going to need an understanding of the academy program. So you can look at our website, you can look at the applicant guide itself, you can look at the annual report, you can look at our social media, various different things, but you want to familiarize yourself with that. Again, you don't need encyclopedic knowledge, but familiarity is good. And then the D&I criteria, so an understanding of your own and understanding of other people's.
I'm so sorry I have to interrupt you. I missed that whole your whole answer. My just froze. I'm so sorry about that. You just kind of froze for like a good 10 seconds. I thought you didn't hear me at first. Could you please repeat that? I'm so sorry.
Yes, of course. So question number one is going to focus on the academy program and your D&I criteria. So top tips for preparation would include looking at the program. So you can find information on that in the applicant guide, on the website, on our annual report, on our social media. That's it. But yeah, so if you have a familiarity with that, you don't need an encyclopedic knowledge, but an understanding of it is key. And then an understanding of your own and others' D&I criteria. So that's unseen question number one. And then unseen question number two is a topical question in the legal sphere. So I would suggest that but it's not focused on judgments or anything like that. So we wouldn't expect you to cite a judgment. We don't expect you to have a knowledge of a recent legal development in terms of the case. We're looking at trends in the legal sphere. So I would suggest that you go and you look at your favorite legal magazine, anything that you might read. Middle Templar is good. Legal Chic, I suppose, if you're that, so that way inclined. But yeah, having a grasp of what's topical in the legal sphere in relation to D&I would stand you in good stead for that.
Thank you. And the second question I had, this is probably like a really silly question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. You know the video we have to do for, I think it's the second part or the first part, and you said it has to be an MP4 format, something. What's the best way to do that? Because I was going to just film it on my laptop and try and upload it that way. Is that going to work, or will I have to do something else?
I mean, honestly, chances are your laptop records in an MP4 format, so probably. But if you make your recording and then download your recording from wherever you've done that, whether you captured your screen or you recorded it directly onto your laptop, whatever you've done. And then if the file extension, so that's the bit that comes after the dot, says MP4, you're all good. If it says something else like WebM or something, all you want to do is go online, Google it, type convert to MP4, and then post or upload your recording in there, and then just convert it, re-download it, name it appropriately. The name that we've asked for is on the application itself, and then upload it that way. But chances are your laptop already does. It's just on the edge cases, just in case someone's trying to submit it in some weird format that we can't process.
Okay. I just want to clarify that question where you have to pre-record is on the written part of the application. So you can record it as many times as you want, download it. If you have any difficulties or technical issues, just email us. That's fine. It's just the video application is a platform. So you will just have to press record on the platform and stop recording and submit. So it's all there for you. Okay.
Brilliant. Thank you, guys.
No worries.
Awesome. Do you know if we've got any more in the chat?
Yeah, so we have one that says a difficult question, but given the competition, can you please can you give an indication of what would make an application stand out? So for example, could you give any examples of what made last year's candidates stand out so that we can learn from their success?
Any thoughts?
I don't. I've been thinking about it for a bit. Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I think it's just have a good insight of the criteria. I would say read through the criteria, read the questions properly, and just try and provide as much, an insightful answer, but as well, detailing your background. We have a big thing that says, own your story. So own your story, talk about how you got to where you want to be and why you want to become a barrister, all of those kinds of things. And yeah, I think, yeah, I can't give you any examples from last year's applicants or candidates. But I would say these are pretty good tips to see. I don't know. What do you think, Yumi?
I think probably this gets repeated too much, but a lot, I suppose, for good reason, is answer the question. A lot of applications veer off into trying to incorporate something that is undoubtedly impressive about the applicant, but isn't relevant to the question. Whereas the best ones are, you've got, 200 words, that's 3 small paragraphs. Each paragraph answers the question, and each paragraph adds to what the argument of the last paragraph. They're focused in on what we're looking for. And that's, how you stand out is by really meeting the criteria, because that's what the markers get.
Yeah. We had a few questions about the recording. The recording will be available on our website, and you will get to see those slides and what we've discussed here today. So that will be posted on our website. Yeah. And then another question is, clarify the D&I criteria. What is the D&I criteria?
Oh, I think they mean D and I. So like D
and
I.
Diversity and diversity and inclusion criteria. Do we have a criteria about that? As in, like, it's just the diversity and inclusion list.
Yeah.
So there's no criteria per se. It's just a list where you will get to choose what diversity characteristics you have, and then that would enable us to then match you with a specific mentor that you would have during the year, if that's something that you want to opt in for. Any questions? Any more questions? I can see we've reached the 6:20 limit. But any more questions? Yep, Caroline.
I'm so sorry. If you have more than one sort of diverse element to you, is there, without wanting to own all the diverse elements here, is there the opportunity to select sort of more than one? Because well, we're all very individual. Some of us fit neatly inside of one box, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so there is a very big list on our applications, and you can select as many, as many as you want. I believe we also have an other. I don't know if we've got an others box, but we've listed most of the diversity characteristics on the application.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's really helpful. Thank you so much. I know it's a simple question, but it was worth asking for me.
Yeah, no worries. That's completely fine. Jasmine.
Hi, I had a question about one of the criteria. I know that in relation to your undergraduate degree, you have to have either funded it via a student loan or your own employment. But what if you funded your postgrad degree and your bar course yourself, but not your undergrad degree? Would you then automatically be ineligible for this?
Yeah, so we currently only look at the way that you funded your undergraduate degree. So if you funded your undergraduate degree via student finance, but then went on to self fund, or someone else privately funded your postgraduate degree or your bar course, that then you are still eligible to apply. Does that make sense?
But not the other way around. But not if it's the other way around.
No, so if you privately funded your undergraduate degree, so for example, if it was funded by family, so if it was funded in a private way, then you won't be able to apply, even if your postgraduate degree was then funded by, for example, student loan. or scholarships. Does that make sense? So we
Yeah.
only look at where you funded your undergraduate degree, not your
Makes
postgrad.
sense. In terms of employment during your undergrad degree, does it have to be fully funded via your employment, or can it be partly funded via your own employment, if that makes sense?
Amy, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, so we'd look for you to have fully funded your tuition fees. So that's what we're looking at, payment of tuition fees. If you've fully funded that through your own employment, then you'd be eligible. But if you've had familial funding for that, you wouldn't be. But you would be if you had student loans or scholarship or local authority funding, anything like that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. We've got one in the chat that I think might be worth answering. We've got one that says, can individuals based in the north of London submit applications if all academy events are held in London? This is exciting because we're currently working on a northern hub. My intention is to get that up and running for this academy year. So that's going to be the academy 23-24. I can't promise that I will. It's a big undertaking. But hopefully what that will enable me to do at some point is the candidates that are located geographically like up there will have a central hub around Manchester or Liverpool. So you're likely to do your mini pupilages, your interview advocacy training, your pod sessions in the north, so that you'd only be required to travel for the lecture events and the opening and closing events. So you'd only be required to travel for the whole cohort events rather than all of the academy events. So fingers crossed that's for this year. But if it's really an issue for you, then definitely by 24-25 we'll have that up and running.
I can see Anya has her hand up, or their hand up.
Hi, yes. I just wanted to clarify. You said that for the undergraduate funding, if you had familial funding, you would not be eligible. If I was partially funded by scholarship and then the other part by family, that means that I would not be eligible?
No, not under this year's eligibility requirements. You'd need either a fully funded scholarship or one that was part funded by scholarship, part funded by student loans, or one that was fully funded by student loans, or alternatively some sort of mash of those with your own earnings, so earnings from your own employment.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. We have one more person with their hands up. Kausalaya.
Yeah, that's me. I'm so sorry. I just have one question. I think someone asked this question, like, okay, someone asked this question, and you said something about that you were trying to set up a Northern Hemisphere. So what if you're from Cardiff? Could you then join that region instead of London then?
Oh, that's a really good question. Not one that I thought of. I suppose I wouldn't have any issues with you opting to, if you were intending, if you knew that you wanted to practice on the Northern Circuit, right, and you knew that that was where you were going to apply for pupillage, then I'd have no problem with you opting into that location for your, whatever training aspect that you were undertaken, provided that it's not going to cause you a massive hassle to get all the way from Cardiff to Manchester when these events are taking place, because a lot of them do have early starts. A lot of them will be 9 or 10 a.m. If you understand that and are happy with that, and you make a successful application and you want to opt into a northern pod rather than being sent to London because it's closer, that's fine. You can drop me an email. I'm on either of the email addresses, and I can sort that for you. But good question, because I haven't thought of that one yet.
Okay, so I just want to clarify. So at the moment, you have the central London hemisphere as well as the northern hemisphere, is it? Or is there any other one?
No, so it's currently very London focused.
Okay.
Hopefully for 2024 it's going to be London and the north, and then following that, maybe we'll have one further south, maybe we'll have one further north, maybe we'll have one in Wales, I don't know. But yes, currently London. Fingers crossed for your entry at London and the north. Yeah.
All right, okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Welcome.
We had one in the chat about A-level grades.
Yeah, go for it, Amy.
So someone's asked whether or not their A-level grades, a bad A-level grade would preclude them from making an application for the academy. Just to reiterate that it doesn't. We take your highest grade, so anything from A-level onwards, A-level, undergraduate, postgraduate, PhD, whatever it is that you've got. The one that best represents your potential is the one that you grade on. So if your highest grade is your undergraduate, use that. If your highest grade is your A-level, use that. But a bad result in one of those exams wouldn't materially impact your application chances.
Okay, before I get to the next person with their hand up, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, okay. So Abtahi has their hand up.
Yeah, hiya, can you hear me?
Yes.
So I understand that bad A-level grades does not matter, but does any I mean, oh, okay, let me rephrase my question. Basically, I don't have proper high school degree, in the sense that I had a conversion degree from a university that allowed me to then move on to university. Would that matter?
No, have you undertaken an LLB?
Yeah, LLB, bar course, everything.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
We have one question that says, do we consider predicted grades? So so mock grades from the current, like a current course.
So what our application form will, as a part of our kind of non-graded criteria, will take your predicted grade so that we have it on record in case we need it, and also for statistics and things that we're asked for. But in terms of the one that is going to materially impact your application chances, it needs to be your highest obtained grade. So you have to be in possession of that grade already.
Okay, awesome.
All good?
I think we made it through most of the questions. If anyone has any more questions, feel free to drop them in drop us an email on programs or info. We'll get back to you as soon as possible. As I said, this recording will be on our website for you to go through it again. We also have the applicant guide, which is also on our website. Very, very vital you read through it before you do the application, because it's got a lot of information on there that will be beneficial and useful. Yeah, thank you very much for coming, guys. That's all from me. I don't know, Amy, do you want to say anything?
Just answering a last minute question in the chat that asks about how the recording works on the video process. So you are going to click start questions. That page is going to load. Your overall timer is going to show at the top. So that's your total time. You eat into that as you see fit, but at some point, please press record. That will start the recording. That will have a separate 2-minute timer on the top of it. Your recording, ideally, what you do is you finish at 1 minute 59 seconds. You click stop and you click submit, and then you go on to the next question. If you overlap, if you go 2 minutes or beyond, it will automatically shut off. So it will stop the recording, it will download it, will submit it to us, and that we will consider that. But if you go over the overall page time, then it's void, you've taken too long. That's it. So yes, the recording will be automatically stopped. It won't be automatically started, and ideally you should be in control of your own recording. So I hope that helps.
Sorry, Imogen. So when you say if you go over the whole page time and it voids that question, you don't get a second bite of that. It's just a one shot, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. That's just really making you slightly nervous.
The time is really big.
Yeah, it'll be fine. Just yeah, it's good to know these things beforehand. So yeah, that's great. Sure. So you can find, I can just see the last thing. You can find our email addresses on our website. So you'll see them there. But yeah, I don't believe I have anything more to add.
No, that's it. But thanks so much for coming, you guys. Good luck. We hope to see many of you on the academy next year. Be looking out for you all. But yes, good luck.
Have a lovely weekend, guys. All right, bye.
All right, that was brilliant. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much. Good night. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much.